All right, so you ready to take the plunge on a big order of custom notebooks?
A bulk order.
Exactly, bulk order. But you want to make sure everything goes smoothly.
Of course, who doesn't?
Right. No one wants a procurement nightmare, and that's what we're diving into today.
Smart move.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting the best price.
No.
Nope. It's about understanding all the things that can go wrong.
And how to avoid them.
Exactly. Like those horror stories you hear about quality inconsistencies.
Oh, yeah. You approve a perfect sample, beautiful paper, the binding, the color, everything's spot on.
The bulk order arrives.
Uh-huh.
It's a disaster. The pages are like tissue paper, the covers are all misaligned, and the colors are totally off.
Ugh, just thinking about it gives me a headache. How often does that actually happen?
More than you'd think. McKinsey actually found that 45% of procurement pros,
Wow, 45%.
yep, 45% struggle with quality inconsistencies in global sourcing.
So it's a pretty widespread issue.
It is. But here's the thing. Companies like Lion Papers, they're known for having this really tight procurement game.
So what's their secret?
Well, for one, they have this multi-step fabric inspection process.
They don't just check it once.
Nope. They check it at the mill, then again before it's cut, and then once more before it goes into production.
So they're catching those issues before they even become a problem.
Exactly. Proactive quality control.
I like it. But even with the perfect materials, I'm guessing things can still go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Shipping delays are another major headache.
Oh man, tell me about it. When your supplier suddenly needs way longer than they originally promised.
Ugh, it's the worst.
Ah,
And it's not always the supplier's fault either.
right. Global supply chains, those can be pretty fragile these days.
Exactly. Supply Chain Dive reported that over 60% of disruptions,
Yeah, 60%.
yeah, in 2024 were caused by, you guessed it, delayed shipments and supplier inefficiencies.
So you've really got to factor in all those potential hiccups.
You do. It makes you wonder if those amazing bulk discounts are even worth it.
When you add in all the potential risks.
Exactly. Which brings us to another danger zone, hidden costs.
Those sound scary.
They can be. You think you've scored this great deal and then bam, unexpected charges pop up.
That weren't in the initial quote.
Nope. Like finding out about baggage fees after you've already booked your flight.
So frustrating. What kind of sneaky costs are we talking about here?
It could be anything. The supplier changing materials mid-production,
Oh no.
a sudden currency fluctuation, or even just a sneaky surcharge buried in the contract.
Ugh, I hate it when they do that.
And get this. Deloitte found that companies without a structured purchasing process,
Without a system in place.
right, they overspend by an average of 12% annually.
Ouch. That's a hefty price to pay for not having your act together. It makes me think that finding a truly reliable supplier,
It's probably the most crucial part of this whole process.
you need someone you can actually trust.
100%. Someone who's not just going to promise you the moon, but actually deliver on time
Meet quality standards.
and be around when you need them. Finding those suppliers, it's like finding a needle in a haystack.
So how do you even go about finding these mythical, reliable suppliers?
Well, it all starts with vetting. And I mean really digging deep, not just settling for a quick phone call.
By flashy website?
Exactly. You need to go beyond the surface.
Okay, so let's break it down. What does a serious vetting process actually look like?
Well, if it's at all possible, try to arrange a factory visit.
Like an audit
Exactly. You want to see with your own eyes if they have the capacity.
and the infrastructure to handle your order.
Right. It's like kicking the tires before you buy a car. You want to see what's under the hood.
But what if a factory visit just isn't feasible?
Then certifications become your best friend.
Ah, okay.
Look for things like ISO 9001,
Which shows.
their commitment to quality management. For things like toys or apparel, Disney's FAMA certification is huge.
It means they meet ethical sourcing and production standards.
Exactly.
And of course, environmental compliance, that's a must these days.
Absolutely. Those certifications are like a stamp of approval. But you know what's even more telling?
What's that?
A company's past performance.
Ah, so you've got to dig into their track record.
You do. How have they handled large orders in the past? Any major issues or complaints?
Makes sense. So you're looking for a proven track record.
Exactly. Like Lion Paper, they have this rigorous 6-step supplier qualification process.
6 steps.
Yep, 6 steps. And it's seriously impressive. They've seen an 80% drop in supplier-related problems.
80%. That's huge.
It is, just in the last 5 years. It shows that a structured system,
Can make a real difference.
it really can. But even with the most reliable supplier, you're still taking a leap of faith when it comes to quality.
That's true. So vetting is just the first step.
Right. Next, you need to make sure the actual product lives up to those promises.
And that's where a robust quality control system comes in.
Exactly.
Okay, so we found our awesome, reliable supplier.
Contract is signed, sealed, delivered.
What's next? How do we make absolutely sure we're getting what we paid for?
This is where things get really interesting. A single quality check before shipping.
That's not enough.
It's like trying to plug a hole in a sinking ship.
Okay, dramatic, but I get it.
You need a multi-layer approach, one that catches problems early on.
So instead of one final check, what does a truly thorough quality control system look like?
It starts with pre-production checks.
Before mass production even begins.
Exactly. You need to approve the materials, colors, samples.
Making sure they align exactly with your specifications.
Yep. No surprises later on. Lion paper actually requires high-resolution photos of the fabric rolls.
Before they're even cut.
Yep. They're not messing around.
That's some serious attention to detail.
It is. But even with pre-production checks, things can still go wrong during production.
Right. So what then?
You need spot checks at key points during production. Let's say at 30% and 70% completion.
So you can catch any deviations early.
Exactly. And make adjustments before it's too late.
I see. And this is where those factory visits we talked about earlier can really come in handy.
Absolutely. Seeing the production process firsthand adds another layer of reassurance.
But how do we know if this kind of meticulous quality control is actually worth the effort?
Does it really make a difference in the final product?
Yeah, I mean, is it all necessary?
Oh, it's a game changer. Statista reports that companies using these strict measures can reduce defect rates by 30–50%.
Wow, those are some serious numbers.
They are. And remember, Lion Paper, they've seen a 45% drop in defect rates since implementing their system.
Proof that it works.
Exactly. But there's one piece of the puzzle we haven't mentioned yet.
What's that?
Contracts.
Ah, yes. Contracts. I'm guessing those play a pretty important role in minimizing risk.
You bet. They're the backbone of the entire process.
They provide
Legal protection and clarity. Think of them as your safety net.
Okay, I'm listening. What are the key elements that need to be spelled out crystal clear in those contracts?
First and foremost, meticulous quality requirements.
Yeah.
Don't leave anything to chance.
So we're talking about
Everything.
paperweight binding type, color accuracy, and even acceptable defect tolerances.
So basically eliminating any room for misinterpretation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But contracts can be tricky. What about those hidden costs we talked about earlier? Ugh, yes. How do we avoid those nasty surprises?
That's why the pricing structure in the contract needs to be transparent and comprehensive.
Meaning?
Every single cost, materials, production, shipping, you name it, needs to be laid out up front.
Got it. No surprises. But even with a perfect contract and a reliable supplier,
There's still a lot of back and forth.
a lot of room for things to slip through the cracks.
Exactly. And that's where the power of digital tools comes in.
Ooh, digital tools. Tell me more.
In today's world, relying on manual tracking methods.
It's like trying to run a marathon in flip-flops.
You said it. You're bound to get tripped up.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are some of these digital tools that can help us streamline this whole process?
There are some amazing platforms out there specifically for procurement management. Things like SAP Ariba,
I've heard of that one.
Procurify Trade Gecko, just to name a few.
So what do they do?
These tools let you monitor orders in real time,
Oh,
get
wow.
instant updates on production, and even automate supplier evaluations.
So it's like having a 247 assistant who never sleeps.
Exactly.
So no more endless emails and spreadsheets.
No more of that. Sign me up.
But do these tools actually make a tangible difference?
Or is it just fancy tech for tech's sake?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do they actually move the needle?
Oh, they make a huge difference. The Harvard Business Review found that 72% of large procurement teams,
Wow, 72%.
reported higher efficiency after going digital.
That's a pretty compelling statistic. It seems like Lion Paper has really nailed this whole digital thing too, right?
They have. They've got the whole package, vetting, quality control, and now digital tools.
What kind of impact has that had on their business?
Their results have been phenomenal. We're talking a 35% drop in defect rates,
Wow.
60% improvement in on-time deliveries,
Seriously?
and 15% cost savings.
Yes.
All thanks to their commitment to structured, tech-enabled processes.
Okay, that's impressive. So they're walking the walk.
They are, and they're not the only ones seeing these kinds of results.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Lion Paper actually worked with this U.S. stationery brand.
What were they struggling with?
Well, they were drowning in a 12% defect rate.
Ouch. And constant delivery nightmares. But after implementing Lion Paper's model, their defect rate plummeted to below 3%.
Get out of here.
Yep. And they cut costs by 20%.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Real results.
Hmm.
This is proof that taking the time to get those procurement processes right,
To make all the difference.
it really can. And I think we've just scratched the surface here in part one.
There's so much more to unpack.
Oh, I know. There's a lot more to this procurement puzzle.
We'll dive into those in part 2.
I can't wait.
Welcome back. We're going to keep diving deeper into these bulk orders and how to make sure they go off without a hitch.
I'm ready for more. I feel like we covered so much in part one.
We did. We talked about vetting suppliers, quality control contracts, even digital tools.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But believe it or not, there's even more we can do to fine-tune our strategy.
Okay. I'm all ears.
Like optimizing an engine. Getting it to run at peak performance.
I like that analogy. Hit me with the next step in our procurement journey.
Let's talk about relationships.
Relationships. Yep. Specifically building strong connections with your suppliers.
So it's not just about placing orders and hoping for the best.
Nope. It goes beyond that.
Yeah.
It's about fostering a real partnership.
Built on trust and mutual respect.
Exactly. When you see your suppliers as collaborators,
It changes the whole dynamic.
it does. You open up communication, you encourage transparency.
And you create a more collaborative problem-solving environment.
Right. So when an issue arises, which it inevitably will,
You're more likely to find a solution that works for everyone.
exactly. It's a win-win.
So how do you actually go about building these strong supplier relationships?
Is it all about fancy dinners and corporate gifts?
I mean, those can't hurt, right?
They have their place.
Yeah.
But the foundation is good old-fashioned communication.
Being responsive.
Yep, and showing a genuine willingness to understand their perspective.
So it's about treating them like partners.
Like valued members of your team, make sure you're paying invoices promptly.
Providing constructive feedback.
And addressing concerns head-on.
Basically just like any healthy relationship.
Built on trust, respect, and open communication. With that foundation in place.
You can work together to prevent problems.
Navigate challenges, and ultimately create a win-win for everyone involved.
Okay, strong supplier relationships check. What's next on our list of risk minimizing tactics?
Let's talk about lean manufacturing.
Okay, lean manufacturing. I've heard the term, but
What does it actually look like in practice?
yeah, I'm not really sure what that means in the context of procurement.
It's all about efficiency, reducing waste, and continuous improvement.
So doing more with less.
Exactly. Working
Mhm.
smarter, not harder. At its core, lean manufacturing is about identifying
And eliminating.
anything in the production process that doesn't add value to the final product.
So streamlining workflows.
Reducing excess inventory, using resources more efficiently.
I see. So it's about cutting out the fat,
Yep. And by implementing these lean principles, you can reduce lead times
lower costs.
and minimize the potential for errors or defects.
Sign me up. Less waste, lower costs, higher quality. That
Yeah.
sounds like a dream.
It's a pretty good deal. Yeah. And here's the cool thing about lean manufacturing.
What's that?
It's not a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process.
It's continuous improvement.
Exactly. You're always looking for ways to refine and improve to make things more efficient.
I love that idea of continuous improvement. It's about staying ahead of the game.
It is.
Yes.
And it's not just about the factory floor either.
You're saying this mindset can apply to the entire procurement process.
You got it. From picking suppliers
Contract negotiation.
to quality control, this
Mhm.
constant drive to do things better.
And can be applied across the board.
Absolutely. It's a way of thinking, a commitment to optimizing every stage of the journey.
I'm starting to understand why Lion Paper has been so successful.
They've clearly embraced this philosophy.
They're a great example of how lean thinking can transform procurement.
They are. Remember that U.S. stationery brand we talked about?
The one that was struggling with defects and delays.
Yep. Well, part of their turnaround involved implementing lean principles in their production process.
Ah, so it's a two-way street?
It is. You can have the best supplier in the world.
But if your own internal processes are messy, you're still going to run into problems.
Exactly. It's about looking inward as well as outward.
This reminds me of something we haven't talked about much. What about forecasting?
Forecasting.
Yeah, how much should you be ordering and how do you even figure that out?
Excellent point. Forecasting and demand planning, those are critical.
You need to anticipate your future needs.
Not just focus on what you need right now.
Because if you order too little,
You're scrambling to meet demand.
and if you order too much,
You're stuck with excess inventory and storage costs.
sounds like finding that sweet spot is a delicate balancing act.
It is. Accurate forecasting requires looking at historical data
Spotting trends.
and understanding potential market changes or shifts in your business.
So it's about being proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly. You're trying to anticipate what's coming down the pipeline.
It's like being a detective piecing together clues to predict the future.
And having that insight can give you a huge advantage.
How?
Accurate forecasting can help you optimize inventory levels
Negotiate better prices.
and even avoid supply chain disruptions
So it's about staying one step ahead.
as much as possible.
Yeah.
This is making me think about another potential risk,
What's that?
relying too heavily on one supplier.
Yeah. Yeah. What if something happens and they can't deliver?
That's a real danger, especially in today's world.
So what's the solution?
Diversifying your supplier base.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Diversification gives you a safety net. Plus, it gives you more leverage when you're negotiating prices.
And contract terms.
Right. Suppliers know they're not your only option.
A little healthy competition never hurt anyone.
It can actually be a good thing, I'm realizing, that successful procurement involves so many different factors
It does. It's like a giant puzzle.
where all the pieces need to fit perfectly.
Exactly.
No.
And just when you think you've mastered the puzzle,
New pieces emerge.
because the world of procurement is constantly evolving.
It is. New technologies, regulations, strategies, they're popping up all the time.
So it's a dynamic field.
Very dynamic. So how do you stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, how do you make sure you're not getting left behind?
That's where continuous learning comes in.
So it's back to that growth mindset.
It is. There are tons of resources out there for procurement professionals, industry publications,
Online forums?
professional organizations like the Institute for Supply Management.
So you're saying it's about tapping into that collective knowledge.
Exactly. It's like having access to a community of experts.
Who are always willing to share their insights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of professional development conferences, workshop certifications,
All those things can keep you sharp.
and up to date.
I'm seeing a theme here. Staying flexible, staying informed.
Always looking for ways to improve.
It seems like that's the key to mastering the art of procurement.
It is. But I know all this information can be overwhelming.
It can be, especially when you're just starting out.
It is a lot to process. So if I had to give one piece of advice to someone who's just starting out,
What would it be?
one word: documentation.
Documentation.
Yep. Document everything.
Everything.
Yep. Supplier communications, quality control checks, contract negotiations.
Keep a record of it all.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Think of it as your insurance policy.
So if something goes wrong,
You have a paper trail.
Mhm.
It helps you stay organized, but it also protects you.
if any disputes or discrepancies arise.
Exactly. A clear paper trail provides evidence, clarity, and accountability.
Got it. If it wasn't documented, it didn't happen.
You got it.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here in part 2. Strong relationships, lean manufacturing, forecasting diversification, and the all-important documentation.
It's a lot.
It is. It's clear that bulk ordering is more than just getting a good price.
It is. It's about building a system that works.
A system that minimizes risks and maximizes value.
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. It's about creating a sustainable, efficient process.
One that sets you up for success in the long run.
Exactly. I feel like we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
We have, but we're not done yet, are we?
Nope. There's more to come.
Bring on part 3.
We'll wrap things up with some final tips and resources.
To help us navigate the procurement landscape with confidence.
Exactly. Join us then.
Okay, we're back for our final deep dive into bulk ordering. And I gotta say, I'm feeling a lot more confident about tackling my next big purchase.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, I feel like we've covered so much ground already. But I'm sure there are still a few more tricks up your sleeve.
There are always a few more. Let's talk about negotiation.
Negotiation. Always a fun topic.
It is. And it's a crucial part of the procurement puzzle.
So it's not just about hammering out the lowest price.
Nope. It's about crafting an agreement that benefits both you and your supplier.
So it's more of a win-win situation.
Exactly. A truly successful negotiation creates value for both parties.
I like that. So where do we start?
Go in prepared, understand their needs and constraints.
As well as your own.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where everyone feels good about the deal.
And it goes back to that relationship building we talked about earlier, right?
It does. If you've established trust and open communication.
Those conversations are going to be a lot smoother.
For sure. So much easier to find common ground.
What about things like payment terms?
Payment terms, delivery timelines, even things like volume discounts.
Those are all up for negotiation.
Absolutely. Everything's on the table.
Wow. So it's about thinking creatively.
Exploring different options and finding solutions that work for everyone.
And, of course, documenting everything in writing.
Always. Can't stress that enough.
Mm-hmm.
Clear communication is key throughout the entire process.
It prevents misunderstandings down the road.
Exactly. And it protects everyone involved.
Speaking of the bigger picture, what about things like global trends or industry shifts?
Ah, yes. Those can definitely impact your sourcing decisions.
So how do you keep up with all the changes?
Stay informed. Read industry publications. Attend conferences, network with other professionals.
So it's about staying curious and connected.
Exactly. The procurement landscape is constantly evolving.
New technologies, regulations, even geopolitical events.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is. But it sounds like it's all part of the challenge.
It is. And it's what keeps things interesting.
I'm realizing that successful bulk ordering isn't just about checking boxes.
It's not. It's about having a mindset.
A way of approaching the entire process strategically and thoughtfully.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's about understanding the risks
Building a system to mitigate those risks.
and always looking for ways to improve and refine your approach.
We've covered so much in this deep dive, from vetting suppliers
To quality control.
to building strong relationships, embracing lean manufacturing, and even mastering the art of negotiation.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And I feel like I have a whole new toolkit for tackling my next big purchase.
And remember, it's not about achieving perfection.
It's about continuous improvement.
Exactly. Even the most seasoned procurement professionals are always learning and adapting.
That's a good reminder. Well, this has been an incredible journey through the world of bulk ordering, and I feel much more prepared to navigate those waters now.
That's what we like to hear.
To all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights to make your next bulk order a resounding success.